Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Aaron Meets World. My name's Aaron, and right now I want to talk about a lot of the announcements and collectibles that were shown off in San Diego Comic-Con this week. And I'm going to try to kind of race through this because there's a lot to talk about, so it's just going to be my initial impressions on a lot of different things. I'm going to start off with what was shown off from Hot Toys. There are a few standouts for me. The first one being one of the first major announcements, which was the battle-damaged Mark 85 Iron Man. That looks amazing, and what I really like, now that it's been shown off on Sideshow today, is it's got a 2021 release date, which a lot of people are probably thinking that's really far off, but my 2020 is already looking pretty packed when it comes to collectibles, so I'm actually thrilled that there's something that can be pushed off to the next year, and kind of wish some of the other ones that were shown would be as well. The Iron Patriot from Endgame, I wasn't going to get that one, but it really, really looks good, so I'm pretty tempted to look at that one. I may end up going for it. I'm on the fence, but I'm starting to lean that direction. It is more expensive than I would like it to be. I don't remember the price off the top of my head, but I think it's leaning towards like $475. But I am planning on tapering back my collecting of Hot Toys quite a bit after the Endgame figures are done rolling out and after I kind of fill out my Avengers lineup there. So maybe as one of the last figures, I might go for that one just to complete that Endgame look. The Rocket Raccoon from Endgame was shown off and added to Sideshow. I'm definitely going for that one. I ended up deciding not to get the Rocket and Groot Infinity War 2-pack because that one was shown and I like the look of it, so that's going to end up being my Rocket Raccoon, although I am disappointed that they aren't having a second head sculpt for that one, so you are stuck with the Screaming Rocket head sculpt, which is my least favorite of the two. I would prefer a closed mouth version. Let's see. The quarter scale Spider-Man was another one that was shown, that the Homecoming Stark suit version. That is not one that I will be getting, but it is cool that they're starting to do other quarter scale figures aside from Iron Man. They also actually did show a quarter scale Mark II, which I'm not going to lie, I am a little tempted by, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go for that. I am going to try to scrounge enough money together to get the quarter scale Mark III, but I think that's going to be a one-off for me. If I do get it, I don't really want to go down the path of trying to collect quarter scale figures, especially in the price range that they're at. So I'm thinking if I'm going to have one in that scale range, it would be the Mark III that would represent Iron Man really well for me. And the only way I'd probably end up getting another quarter scale is if they did a definitive version of Captain America, which I'm not even sure which one that would be for me. Probably Endgame, although I wouldn't say no to a First Avenger version of Cap done really well to maybe have, the first appearance of the characters in a quarter scale version as opposed to a random appearance. Let's see, what else did they show? Another one that went up for pre-order is the Venom Pool, which is a really cool looking figure. Not one I'm going to get, but it's a really cool original looking figure. So if that interests you, it does look like it would end up being a really nice showpiece if you were one to get that. Let's see. Another one shown off, actually I think it was one of the very first ones shown off, was the Solo A Star Wars Story Darth Maul. I am getting the Phantom Menace Darth Maul. I'm not going to end up getting this one, but it is a really cool piece that I don't think many people expected. It does have a completely new head sculpt showing an aged Darth Maul as opposed to the younger one. So I can see a lot of people being excited about that one. They also, a Star Wars figure that I'm really excited for is not a reissue, but a newer version of the Empire Strikes Back Luke Skywalker in his Bespin outfit. I'm probably going to end up getting that. I would have liked to have gotten the original, although looking at photos of it now, I feel like the original's head sculpt had room for improvement. So I'm glad that they're doing this one. It would be my second Luke Skywalker figure and probably my last, unless I end up being impressed with The Rise of Skywalker and then suddenly wanting to have a representation of him from the sequel trilogy. But I'll have to see what happens there. Let's see, they did show characters off like Padme, which most of the photos I saw of her I felt weren't good enough, but then yesterday or the day before I did see one from Straight On where it was like, okay, yeah, they actually did capture Natalie Portman's likeness from that time pretty darn well. So I'll reserve judgment until Hot Toys actually releases their photos. They probably did a better job at it than what the photos under the showroom floor lighting actually did to represent it, because as we've come to realize, the lighting, even with a really good photographer, if it's slightly off, then the figure doesn't look like how it's supposed to and how it would look in person. So I'll reserve judgment on that one. They probably did better than what the initial impression was. They showed Jango Fett again, which I'll definitely get. They also showed a Kit Fisto, which he was mainly shown in episode 2, if I remember correctly. I know I said I'd get most prequel figures, but I think I would end up skipping that one. And mainly just because there are so many other figures on the docket for next year that I know I need to get with all of the main Endgame figures coming out. So that one will probably go by the wayside. They also did show some other clone troopers, which, depending on when they're released, I may go for or not. I'd like to get more than Commander Cody, but it'll depend where it falls compared to a bunch of other figures releasing and if it fits in my budget. The nice thing about Star Wars figures is they tend to sit there a little bit longer, so I would hopefully have more time to decide if I wanted to pick that up, as opposed to having to race to make sure I get the Marvel figures that I want to make sure I get. And I'm sure they showed off some other interesting stuff, but those are the main standouts off the top of my head without looking at any notes or anything. But moving on from Hot Toys, Neca did show off a Wave 2 of their 80s cartoon Ninja Turtles based figures. I was not able to find the Wave 1 figures. They're Target exclusives. None of the Targets near me ended up having them anytime that I looked for them. So I don't know if I'm out of luck there or not. We'll see. It's not the end of the world if I can't find them and don't get myself into collecting that line. But some of the Wave 2 and Wave 3 figures that they showed off look really neat if you are a fan of the classic Ninja Turtles cartoon. So look those up if that might be down your alley. The Slash figure, the Metalhead figure, the Bebop and Rocksteady that they showed off look really neat, but I wouldn't want to get those if I didn't have the Wave 1 figures, which had Shredder and Krang and all of the Turtles to go with it. There wouldn't really be much of a point. Let's see what else was shown off. QMX, Quantum Mechanics. I didn't see any photos or videos from the show floor showing off their figures, but their Facebook page did show some photos of the 6 scale Commander Data and Geordie LaForge figures to go with the Captain Picard that they did a while back. And I'm hoping because their Facebook showed them off, that means they're actually thinking about releasing them. I'd love to have a Star Trek The Next Generation lineup. And I'm kind of on the fence. They are re-releasing Kirk and Spock. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I'm going to go for them or not, because also Dr. McCoy is not available anymore. And so if I can't complete the set, should I even start getting the set, because it'll drive me nuts to not be able to complete it. I'm on the fence. We'll see. Maybe I'll be able to grab him off of eBay or something. But the original series isn't as high a priority for me as TNG would be. And speaking of TNG, the Star Trek Picard trailer was shown off, and now I'm really excited for that. If you're a Star Trek fan, I think this is the one we've been waiting for, especially with characters like Jerry Ryan's 7 of 9 from Voyager returning, Brent Spiner as Data, and it was confirmed that Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes would return as Riker and Troy. So I don't know that we're going to get a full TNG reunion at any point, but that's looking really exciting, and that's going to premiere before the end of the year on the CBS app. So if that interests you, check that out, and the full panel about that and a few interviews as well are now on YouTube in places. So take a look at that. At least look up the trailer, because if you had any passing interest in Star Trek The Next Generation, you should take a look at that. It looks different, but it looks like they're going to be honoring the source material, hopefully more than the sequel trilogy of Star Wars did. Let's see, what else was there? Asmus Collectables showed off a little bit more of their Lord of the Rings stuff. I think people did have a chance to look at their Gandalf up close. I think I recall seeing a little bit about that. Let's see, what else was there. Hasbro showed off some Wave 2 figures from their Power Rangers Lightning collection, and I think I just barely got in a pre-order on their Green Ranger and Putty Patroller set on the Hasbro Pulse website. Even though it sold out, I had a page left open on my phone where I could still put one in the cart and check out with it, even though it had already said sold out. So I'm hoping that will actually go through, but we'll see. That'll probably show up in a GameStop afterwards if for some reason it doesn't. And I also pre-ordered the Pink Ranger figure. I don't think I'm getting any of the other ones from the Wave 2, though. I'm only really partial to the originals. And let's see, is there anything else that stood out to me as far as collectibles? I think that's about it, but I think that's enough. Hot Toys did put up a figure showing off their Endgame, or put up a picture showing off their Endgame line, which did show every single one of the characters in their Quantum Realm suits. I don't know if I'm going to get any of those, but if I did, it would probably only be Cap and Stark. Yeah, I probably wouldn't go for any of the other ones. But interesting of note, on that photo, they did show Scarlet Witch and Falcon, so hopefully that means they'll do a re-release of those figures of the Infinity War versions or something. As you guys know, I really want those characters. But moving on to Marvel's panels, talking about those, they did announce the WandaVision TV show, the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. Those were already announced, but they kind of reiterated those. So worst comes to worst, they will probably do figures for those. Let's see, of the Marvel movies, Phase 4 that they announced, what am I most excited for? Well, actually, the Disney Plus shows that I just announced, I'm really excited for. But then the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I think that was the name of it. I'm really excited for that one, and that will also feature Scarlet Witch with Doctor Strange. I think that's going to be a really nice pairing. I'm really excited for that movie. I think that's a 2021 film. And then Thor, God of Love and Thunder, I think was the name of it, where they're having Natalie Portman return and she'll become the Lady Thor. I am not quite to reading that comic line yet. I'm still kind of in the 2013-2014 realm, but I'm working my way up to that storyline, and I would like to read it. I'm kind of on the fence about Natalie Portman. I'm glad they're not changing actresses for Jane Foster, but I've been kind of on the fence with her because her portrayal of Jane Foster up to this point, I don't know how the character is supposed to be in the comics. I've kind of skipped over where that character was shown off, but I feel like her character was a little boring personally. But we'll see. Maybe she'll be a lot more exciting as an actual superhero. And I'm reserving judgment on that. But I hope Hot Toys works out their Padme figure well, because they're going to need to get some practice for Lady Thor. I'm sure they'll end up doing a Natalie Portman Lady Thor figure. Although I don't know if I'll be collecting as many of them at that point. Hopefully not. I'll need to cut down on how much I'm spending by then, probably. Let's see. And then they did say that Black Panther 2 is coming and a lot of that other stuff. Kevin Feige was quoted as saying as they are thinking about what the next Avengers movie is going to be, but that's probably a Phase 5 film. Let's see, what else is there to talk about? I think that's all the major stuff for me. Oh, actually, there was the Marvel Games panel, now that I'm thinking about it, which I'm currently playing through Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm about probably a quarter of the way in. I haven't had a whole lot of time to start playing. It just came out last Friday. But I'm really liking the game. But what is really exciting that came out of the panels is they're adding some free figures, some free characters at the end of August with Cyclops and Colossus. So hopefully they're going to continue that trend. And that's on top of the paid DLC that you can do, which they announced the Marvel Knights for character lineup for that part of the DLC. And then there's also going to be X-Men DLC and Fantastic Four DLC. I will probably do a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 video at some point. I don't know how in-depth I'm going to go with it. Right now, I would say if you're a big Marvel fan, it's worth getting. But is it a AAA game on par with like a Zelda Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey? Not quite. I'd say it's a little bit below that. But I'd say the score range that it's been getting in reviews is about right, at least with what I've played so far. And I definitely do want to keep on playing. It is holding my attention. The story is good. The voice acting is pretty good. So that's my endorsement on that. But I'm glad they're adding more characters for free on top of the DLC. I feel like this game's going to be pretty well supported, at least for the near future. And then some of the gameplay leaked online, even though they didn't want to show it yet, for the Square Enix Avengers game. And that's actually looking pretty good. But now that I mentioned Square Enix, there's a few more collectibles that just popped into my head that I want to talk about. And that would be the Play Arts Kai and Bring Arts figure lines. I do have the Cloud and Barrett of the Final Fantasy VII Remake figures. And they showed off Tifa and Aerith. And those look cool. I'm probably going to get those. And I think they actually did show off Sephiroth as well, though they've already had some Sephiroth figures. It looks pretty much the same. But those are cool. I'm probably going to get those. They also did show a few more of the Final Fantasy IX Bring Arts figures. They've already shown Zidane and Garnet. And now they've shown Phoebe and Steiner. And actually, I think they showed the complete line. I think I recall seeing, not close-ups, but some distance photos of the complete line. And I haven't pre-ordered any of those yet. I have way too many things on my mind to pre-order. But I do love Final Fantasy IX. I'd love to get those. And if I do, I'll do reviews of those on this channel. Anyways, I knew this was going to be a long video, even with me speeding through things, but what were the things from San Diego Comic-Con 2019 that excited you the most as far as collectibles, or really anything that was announced? What was the most exciting for you? Let me know. I'd be happy to have a discussion about it. And please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe, because I have a lot more content in the pipeline I've already created that will be coming very soon. And yeah, so hopefully there's stuff that you guys were excited for out of Comic-Con, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.